su hermana está muy guapa, preséntamela. Pues ahí voy yo de obediente, se la presento, pues empezaron a salir y así fue cuando pues, nació la historia de amor y pues se casaron.
Probably no other brother combo could match that particular, matrimonial attribute as well.
As Marquez's career soared, so did Barrera's. In 2002, Marco Antonio won the highly anticipated rematch against Erik Morales. However, the following year, Barrera's reign at the top would end with a stunning loss to Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao emerged as this dynamic, fury-filled force of nature.
He was young and crazy and cockstrong, and he wanted to fight anybody, and he wasn't afraid to fight a guy like Marquez, and the fight was made.
Just 6 months after Barrera's loss, Marquez would face the Filipino sensation.
And he fires the straight left hand, and there's the punching power.
Pacquiao just shocked him.
He's hurt now. He's hurt. Down he goes now. This is why we use the word sensation.
In the first round against Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel was knocked down 3 times.
And I'm not sure Juan Manuel will be able to get up.
And a lot of people are thinking, yo, the fight's over.
It only took him 1 round. All of a sudden, he figured out the left hand. He said, okay, I'm not going to get hit with that left hand anymore.
Marquez coming back with a left and a right into the zone.
Marquez is making the stand of his life.
Within 2 or 3 rounds, he's completely reversed the momentum of the fight, and he's playing Pacquiao like a violin.
And it could be the comeback of a lifetime for Juan Manuel Marquez.
For those 11 rounds after that disastrous first round, Marquez showed the kind of warrior instincts and heart and tenacity that he really has in that fight.
After 12 furious rounds, the fight ended in a disputed draw. What Marquez did win was universal respect.
I don't think people really got to see what was beating, beneath his breastplate until the Manny Pacquiao fight. It was the best thing that ever happened to him because people finally knew who he was.
Meanwhile, Barrera's convincing loss to Pacquiao had left many questioning his future.
Marco Antonio Barrera taking by far the worst physical beating of his career.
Barrera basically was left in a heap at the end of that fight. That's the kind of beating that's hard to come back from.
Barrera appeared at that moment to many of us, perhaps to be done. But of course, there's a lot of depth in Marco Antonio Barrera.
Marco is a very proud fighter, very proud person. And that fire lights up when the odds are against him.
Make no mistake about Marco Antonio Barrera. He can show you this stoic front, but he heats up a lot.
I think he is a gentleman as long as you show him the same respect. But once that line is crossed, he drops the whole gentleman thing.
In my town.
Come on, guys. He's a guy with a lot of pride, and you see that when he's matched up with somebody else who also has a lot of pride. Erik Morales brought out the best of Marco Antonio Barrera.
With their 2 legendary fights, Barrera and Morales had developed one of boxing's most heated and personal rivalries. In November of 2004, they squared off in Las Vegas to settle the score, with Barrera the underdog.
Todo lo contrario, me escogieron porque pensaron que ya estaba yo terminado y quisieron agarrar la tercera pelea pues para poder decir ellos enterrarlo, ¿no? Pero pues cuál fue su sorpresa que pues ni acabado ni retirado, le dimos duro.
Well, if Morales thought Barrera was a shot item after the knockout loss to Pacquiao, he has learned already that isn't the case.
It's pretty hard to choose whether the first Barrera-Morales fight or the third Barrera-Morales fight is the greatest. Both are 12 rounds of savage intensity.
It's a street fight in Las Vegas for the 2 greatest Mexican fighters of their generation.
And this time, for the first time, even though by a small margin, there's a pretty clear winner.
And new champion of the world, Marco
key at the Morales-Barrera fights was to witness greatness in the ring.
Never has there been a trilogy which was more consistently entertaining and exciting round by round by round than the 36 rounds they produced.
And unlike other great trilogies or multi-fight series, you had two fighters who really disliked each other and have that same feeling to this day.
No, yo no lo odio, nomás recibo a la gente con el mismo cariño. Simplemente que chingue a su madre, así de simple.
Y no, por el momento al contrario, yo lo respeto, yo siempre lo voy a admirar porque gracias a él pusimos un brinco enorme en el boxeo mexicano.
In Marco Antonio Barrera, you have one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time. You have one of the greatest fighters of all time. And he's given everything to the sport.
Barrera has been good enough to have cast a long shadow, so he's always overshadowed those who were behind him. And here is Marquez, now fighting to get out of that shadow.
In the years following his memorable performance against Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez would once again be plagued by bad choices and missed opportunities.
He could have fought Manny Pacquiao in the rematch for a bigger purse than he ever made before, but they decided not to go ahead with it. Nacho instead took a fight for him with Chris John in Indonesia. He fights for $30,000. He ends up losing the fight.
These were terrible decisions, and Juan Manuel Marquez, right now where his career stands is he's one of those could-have-been fighters.
You would hope that Marquez can seize this opportunity, maybe the last opportunity, to make a statement.
Juan Manuel Marquez, he's got to have it. He's got to get this win over Marco Antonio Barrera to achieve greatness, and I think that's going to lead to a great fight between these two.
It's said that Marquez is hungrier, but hunger is one thing, pride's another. Barrera is fighting for pride. Pride is being the greatest Mexican fighter.
I'm sure that Marquez will look at Barrera's two fights against Rocky Juarez and say, hey, he had trouble with a young, strong puncher. Maybe I should consider being more aggressive than I've been.
People have written off Marco Antonio Barrera more times than the national debt. And every time he has a bad or fair performance, we think that's it. And then he comes back with a great performance.
Barrera will do whatever it takes to win. We don't yet know that about Marquez.
On March 17th, the countdown concludes, and two of boxing's best prepare for battle.
Between the two, they've had 117 fights. Between the two, they've won 109.
We're going to see who's the better boxer. We're going to see who's the better warrior between Barrera and Marquez.
Es una pelea importante, una gran pelea que la estamos casi soñando con ella a diario.
Él ni soñando va a poder lograr ganarnos. Me dan ganas de pegarle 12 rounds para que se acuerde de mí después de la pelea.
When you pit two fighters of this magnitude, two world champions, and they're both from Mexico City, it's going to be all-out war.
These are two of the master craftsmen of their era. Two guys who've had great careers in one of the most passionate corners of the culture, Mexican boxing. Let's have the opening bell right now.
Starting April 15th, it's the premiere of De La Hoya Mayweather 24/7, a 4-episode series featuring behind-the-scenes access to both fighters as they prepare for their upcoming bout. And on May 5th, it's the live fight, De La Hoya versus Mayweather, only on HBO pay-per-view.